The old Blackwood Cemetery had always been a place of hushed reverence, its weathered stones whispering tales of generations past, but lately, a disquiet had settled amongst the moss-covered monuments. It began subtly, a faint, almost musical chime carried on in the night air. Then it grew more insistent, a clear, mournful ringing that echoed through the silent grounds. The source was a grave in the oldest section, marked by a crumbling marble headstone bearing the name Eleanor Ainsworth, 1848 to 1883. Old Mr. Hemlock, the cemetery's groundskeeper for 50 years, was the first to hear it. He dismissed it as the wind, the branches of the ancient yews perhaps catching on something, but the ringing persisted, night after night, always around the witching hour. It wasn't the frantic clang of alarm, but a slow, deliberate tolling, as if someone or something was gently pulling a rope. Whispers began to circulate in the nearby village of Oakhaven. Eleanor Ainsworth had died young, the victim of a mysterious illness. Some whispered of a tragic accident, others of a darker fate. The bell, they recalled from the local lore, had been placed on her grave, a safety bell. Sheriff Brody, a man of logic and reason, initially scoffed at the tales, but the calls kept coming, residents reporting sleepless nights, their unease growing with each mournful chime. He decided to investigate. Under the pale glow of his flashlight, Eleanor Ainsworth's grave looked much like the others, old, weathered, and still, but as midnight approached, a faint tremor ran through the earth beneath his feet. Then the bell began to ring, a soft, melancholic tone at first, gradually increasing in volume. Brody circled the grave, his skepticism warring with the growing sense of unease. There was no wind, no animals, nothing that could explain the steady, rhythmic tolling. He knelt down, examining the chain leading into the earth. It was taut, as if something was indeed pulling it from below. He tried to pull the bell, but it was firmly fixed. He shone his light on the headstone, the inscription, "Rest in Peace," seeming to mock the unsettling sound filling the night. Over the next few nights, the ringing became more frequent, more insistent. One particular stormy night, the bell began to ring earlier than usual, its tone frantic, almost desperate. Mr. Hemlock, his face pale and etched with worry, called Sheriff Brody in a panic. "Sheriff, you need to come. The ground, it's moving." Brody arrived to find Mr. Hemlock standing a safe distance from Eleanor's grave, his eyes wide with terror. The earth around the headstone was indeed shifting, small cracks spider-webbing across the surface, the bell clanging wildly. Suddenly a section of the earth near the headstone buckled and collapsed inward, revealing a dark, narrow opening. The ringing stopped abruptly. Brody cautiously approached the opening, his flashlight beam cutting through the darkness. He could see the top of the wooden coffin, and then he saw it, a hand, pale and skeletal, its fingers curled around a rusted piece of the bell's chain, the metal stained dark. A low moan filled with the centuries of silence drifted up from the open grave. The air grew cold, a damp, earthy smell rising from the depths. Sheriff Brody, a man who had faced down hardened criminals, felt a terror unlike any he had ever known. He stumbled backwards, his flashlight clattering to the ground, its beam now illuminating the horrifying truth. The bell hadn't been a warning, it had been a signal. Eleanor Ainsworth was finally rising, and the silence that followed the last toll of her bell was far more terrifying than the ringing had ever been.